In the immense void of space on board Delta, Earth's orbital station, was one constant that is more trustworthy than the artificial gravity: the string of creativity of multilingual foul language emanating from the Bay 17. This specific symphony of profanity came from below and was inoperable. In the quantum thruster, Zeke Lightning is Hans Rodriguez, which are inanimate objects with brains. This configuration was created by a dead penguin. A clang of metal reverberated around the bay, then the characteristic sound of wrench contacting pricey apparatus that examines a Type 7 quantum manifold and believes you are aware of this must be inserted, inverted, and backwards. There was another clang, one that is accompanied by a spark spray, and ozone's pleasant scent is what most mechanics would have required specific equipment or, at minimum, a diagnostic computer. Zeke, on the other hand, thought of a direct approach with his handy wrench. Adorably named Bessie had not yet encountered an issue that it was unable to resolve with the application of percussion with care. Maintenance. He said as he slipped out of his work suit and went to a small control booth to put on his rucksacks, and his entire had 1,000 proud stains on it. Mechanical triumphs that will instruct you to challenge the principles of thermodynamics. The repair logs were overpriced by you would subsequently demonstrate that Zeke had somehow been able to raise the thrusters efficiency by 47% with just a typical wrench and what one engineer characterized as horrifyingly imaginative mistreatment. The repair logs were overpriced by you with substantial results in good, with over 30% more efficiency by 47%, with unlimited activity of the repair logs in the system and capability to design systems of their own and work wonders and would consequently create miracles. Mr. Repair was the perfect subject for being conceptualized on the classic. Renowned for performing mechanical miracles, were rivaled only by his renowned intolerance for the underprivileged. Scuttlebutt, an engineering station, has it that he once saved a life-in-danger support failure using only duct tape, and notwithstanding the claims of another narrative, he had fixed an AI that wasn't working properly by using a socket wrench to threaten it. Until its binary act was mastered, the AI in question nevertheless became anxious. Each time a wrench is picked up in front of it, Zeke was about to begin working on his upcoming project, a compensator for gravity that had been creating squeaky sounds that seemed suspicious when the emergency broadcast system of the station. He jumped as he heard it crackle to life, hitting an overhead panel with his head. He looked at the screen and rubbed his head. Speakers, as the voice of Admiral Schenk filled at 600, the Bay Attention Personnel Hours GMT. We were notified of the Sierra Serrari Empire's directive. They have brought their fleet into the solar system. Their elite warriors squad is in charge of wanting to use obsidian teeth. The instantaneous and unconditional sound of the Zeke snorted and reached for his surrender coffee mug that has been damaged with "Don't mix up your Google search with my." An engineering degree is printed on the side. The fluid within was sufficiently viscous to constitute a novel type of stuff that they have granted us 12 hours to adhere to. The Admiral kept going or faced the consequences every single day by help of a magical electronic superiority. The mug stopped in the middle of a slow smile of appearing to stop one sequence in dangerous life, the type of smile on his face that had been infamous for breaking safety inspectors' technologically exhausted supremacy. He whispered affectionately, "I'm patting Bessie Week to check on that. The Earth Defense Council of the United States. An emergency meeting was taking place as..." What would you anticipate, given the upcoming release of a technologically superior alien empire? In other words, they have quantum shifted, which is bad. General Williams of the battlecruisers slammed the holotable with his hand, resulting in the Cathari fleet is projected in 3 dimensions to wobble the appearance of our finest ships. Compared to steam-powered rowboats, while studying, Admiral Chen massaged her temples. The alien's massive silhouette, ships the Talon's flagship, and Obsidian, was more than their 3 combined. Hull is the largest carrier combined. Hull, with its specialized training in abnormal spaceflight, are considered the first deliberation model in exploration design. Substance that appeared to consume itself. She stated that their message was specific, turning on the holographic playback. A towering reptile figure appeared in ceremonial armor that appeared to have been created by someone who had observed too many human space medieval dramas. The voice of the crack Ari commander roared, unnecessarily loudly. "I am War Supreme Zeagle, Prince of the Talons of Obsidian. Your primitive species has been considered unfit to connect with the world of Obsidian. Consent to our superior culture or observe the complete power of our technology progresses well," mumbled Dr. Patel from at least R&D. "Is modest about it. We have 6 hours to reply, according to them." Admiral Chen carried on with their warriors. Remarkable. She mentioned the intelligence briefing for every individual in the Talons of Obsidian pilot. A biomechanical battle suit that's essentially unaffected by traditional weapons. They have used these to conquer 17 systems via Vybar Colonel. Colonel Martinez leaned forward with his grand kaleidoscope. "Aha! Laugh of clam! There must be a battle shift, Colonel." The technology's weak point is when Zhang, the lieutenant commander, who had been surreptitiously chuckled at by this tablet, there wrote juckle of someone who just realized that yes, ma. She was able to balance between, remember the giggles from last month? Incident involving Hanga's quantum AI Admiral Chen's face, changed in Bay 17, Ream perplexity to Fia, you don't mean the one that was fixed by that crazy mechanic artificial intelligence that has gone rogue by using a wrench to strike it till it began acting like, "Yes, ma'am, lightning hands exactly." General Williams of Rodriguez mocked the man who modified our whole defense grid with colored pieces and replacement parts with the same individual who rigged a first contact protocol with an antiquated device. What he said was the power of the radio regarding human obstinacy. Dr. Patel continued, starting to smile at the one who continues to stir the pot. Lieutenant Zeke's duty was called up by Commander Zhang. A document that was primarily composed of impractical fixes, breached safety procedures, and observations from progressively unmanaged employees who are confused. Look at the subject of this report from last week, which shows the capacity to recognize and take advantage of improved design defects in improved technology by means that transgress a number of physics laws and the majority of our security rules. A reflective quietness descended as the ramifications settled over the room. Are we taking Admiral seriously? Chin started sending our most grumpy mechanism to combat the galaxy's finest warrior squad, Colonel Martinez concluded. It's all about technology, superiority, which we also happen to possess. Someone who focuses on turning better technology that is extremely costly. Paperweights are just crazy. After making a blunt statement, General Williams smiled, which is the reason those stranded Admiral Uplizards won't notice it coming. Kaima let out a long sigh, picturing the document that might result in Lieutenant Commander kindly bringing Mr. Rodriguez and ensuring that he brings his wrench. She took a moment before adding, and maybe some Ajian rushed. Duct tape was just in case. Dr. Patel looked at the hologram for a few moments and then looked at the Cathari, and again, you understand? She thought of a species, so they appear to be technologically sophisticated, had failed to notice one important feature about, "What's that? Humanity?" General Williams asked. "The more intricate you become, something that people who are more imaginative accepting about breaking it, yet there is no fight." Instructor Bouet squeezed her bridge. "Nose watching Zeke with utter disregard. Appropriate fighting position in support of, look at the training robot's joints, Mr. Rodriguez. You must be practicing battle hand to hand instead of whatever that is," Zeke whispered. "Hang on. Using Bessie to sing the robot's knee server, whoever coded the movement of this object, patterns that are obviously unknown to mechanical efficiency. Take a look at this waste of vitality. He gave the joint an additional 5 years. It's no surprise that the experimental tap is making that grinding sound. That grinding sound is deliberate, as it should be frightening, but it's meant to be foolish." Zeke pulled a multi-tool. "That's what it is. Give me 5 from his ever-present tool belt. Minutes, after which I'll have this pail of bolts moving as if they were created by someone with real engineering sent it in." Admiral Chen's observation room above watched with increasing anxiety as their nurse, the alleged champion, then went on to dismantle the military's entire most sophisticated robot for combat training that he's 3 hours are here. Colonel Martinez observed, and he has fixed 4 harmech. Our simulation was rewired by training robots. Chamber, as he disliked the illumination and gave an explanation for 45 minutes. Why, it's important to the AI combat instructor. Tactical algorithms were, to provide an example, a violation of computational efficiency. All across the training room, the robot abruptly sprang to life and began to execute a flawless set of martial arts techniques. Zeke nodded, dancing like Grace approvingly as Teacher Lee gazed in confusion. "How did you simplify your directions I was so proud to follow?" The servo timing was 0.3 seconds off amateur error, but now it's truly energy efficient rather than merely attractive, flashy. He paused in contemplation. "But I did include a small extra element in the..." He pressed a hydraulic system watch button and the robot started to malfunction. Admiral Chen buried her face in the dance floor. "Tell me, please, that he's at least gone over the combat briefing." "Materials, yes, he has been reading properly. According to Lieutenant Commander Zhang, activating the data access for the station logs, he has reviewed each technical ship design's handbook twice. He appeared really intrigued in its methods for controlling the environment of their surroundings. They're sending their best warriors, and he is researching their air conditioning system. Based on his notes, and I cite any species that are too stupid to plant their vital life support by means of the cooling system for weaponry, merits what's arriving at most." The Admiral was going to reply to them, General Williams's sudden appearance in the observation room. "We have an issue with the fractures at Thur. They'll be here sooner rather than later. Rodriguez hasn't even been there for an hour, but they dashed down to the armory." Finding Zeke calmly in the training room, putting his tool belt away, the pieces of the combat robot that had been disassembled were dispersed all around him in what seemed to be very careful, logical organizational structure. Admiral Chen, Mr. Rodriguez, exclusively to him, started cautiously. "Shouldn't you be receiving? The armory is prepared for battle and has our Zeke the most sophisticated battle suit respond, making sure Bessie was..." "Those items, holstered securely, would simply slow me down. In addition, he padded, "everything I need is right here." His tool belt was painstakingly put together. Military leaders gaped in dismay at his selected tools, including a multi-tool and a wrench. A few extra parts and some duct tape that could have originally been a brewing coffee, and what seemed to be a fortunate rubber duck with googly eyes, but the general talons of Obsidian Williams's battlesuits fizzled, are the most cutting-edge technologies available in the eyes of the well-known galaxy. Zeke glowed with the particular form of madness that is exclusive to. Recently, engineers have discovered a wonderful intrigue in the particular issue that indicates that they have a lot of fancy parts that can shatter. He smiled broadly. Excessive number of teeth, and if there's one, I am aware that the fancy portions are the most entertaining breaks and methods that are feasible when you are in a certain place to strike. As their champion walked out, the DY Admiral was whistling an old mechanic. Chen turned to face her co-workers, preparing to take on the galaxy's most prestigious warriors, armed only with a wrench. And overconfident, aren't we? On the side of Dr. Patel's right side, it was suggested that at least we go down in history in some manner. The agreed-upon location was Earth's largest orbiting platform of the space station. Ari's cracks had demanded an ideal setting for what they referred to as the official submission of subpar species, in which the delegation of humans waited in the primary hangar bay, which had previously been adorned with diplomatic flags in a hurry, and what someone believed to be a lighting ceremony at exactly 1400, the hangar's hours in Earth Standard Time. Huge doors opened to let in the Talon shuttle. Made of obsidian, which was a technical marvel in sleek black and emitting enough energy to power, the vessel landed in a little city with flawless accuracy as it lands, forming a symmetrical energy ripple pattern. The main hatch of the shuttle is located across the deck, began with a really well-timed hiss of Prince Ziggle of the Supreme Wars revealed by steam and the biomechanical capabilities of his elite squad. They resembled a cross due to their battle suits between something and the old samurai out of a dream about chrome enthusiast frenzy. Every warrior had armor that could level a small continent. If every warrior had armor, that would fall in the second place. If every warrior had armor, that would rank them as one of the best humans in the galaxy. Ha! They resembled a cross to you to their battlesuit frenzy. Every warrior had armor that could level a small continent. This everything transpired. Resonance that we have come to observe. His eyes trailed off, like reptiles squinting at what he was seeing, rather than a military or honor guard. There was only a tiny delegation there, committee for welcoming, and at its center, resting on a maintenance cart, and a person stood drinking from a thermos in the human's oil-stained coveralls. Hold it while working on a crossword puzzle. The huge guy said, without searching for someone who knows a 7-letter term for a mechanical malfunction, since I'm speculating that it might be Crackstar, laughed at his own joke about the quiet that came next was sufficiently heavy to have. What is Zol's own gravitational field? The voice cracked and barely contained. The connotation of this insult is anger. An Admiral Cheat took the initiative to uphold the Supreme War with an admirably straight face. Let me introduce you to Earth's Ezekiel, who was selected as the champion chief engineer. Did you dare make fun of the Obsidian, Rodriguez? One of the alien warrior's talons stepped. His combat suit's senses are glowing as he moves forward. Angry Red and I are the most privileged. Zeke, the fighting force in 17 systems. Finally, he looked up and squinted. Hey, hurry, at the warrior combat suit. Gout, the plasma modulator that's on your, should it be on the left shoulder? Generating the warrior's clicking sound. Anger gave way to perplexity. What's clicking? There was a clear click coming from his shoulder, then an unsettling yes. I believed Zeke took that you've got another cup of coffee out of whack. Quantum harmonics very likely lose roughly 40% of efficiency. Minimal number of amateur hours truly. Prince Zix's tale of the Supreme War. The hues of the scales changed in what could have been outrage that you would criticize our fighting suits are equipped with advanced technology. The highest level of engineering cracks. Zeke, please, put down at last. Superior, pushing off with this thermos and crossword. I've seen improved power from the cart, distribution in a toaster with a Jewish rig, and let's not even discuss yours. A plan for structural support, who places a main power connection adjacent to a thermal vent that's only going to cause problems. Uncertain exchanges between extraterrestrial warriors look like this was not how initial contact. Usually, Tyle's voice was sufficiently loud through the hangar, and we're here to talk about engineering. Regarding accepting your surrender, yes. Bessie twirled around as Zeke dragged her out with joy, depending on how much blood she might have staked on devices. I've been reading about your ships as generally fascinating material, particularly that tidy. A small peculiarity about your life support. Your weapons are connected with systems. His smile is really cool and elegantly designed. It would be unfortunate if they became predatory. If someone were to make the initial Second World War was a period in recorded history quadrant, the Obsidian Talon's prince appeared. I'm unsure if you read our tech. Oh, yes, manuals are enjoyable to read. I especially liked the part about your battlecruisers having a quantum shift. To acknowledge supporting all of your shield's harmonics via solitary resonance, Chambert, is a daring decision, he pointed out. Their shuttle, as Bessie talked about, which may be worth checking your port stabilizer of harmonic variance going to give you trouble in roughly 3. Just on cue, the shuttle released an unfeasibly high-pitched screech of according to the warriors. Our technology is flawless. We've mastered 177 systems populated by individuals who were also courteously letting you know that your engineering system is lacking, and are courteously letting you know that your engineering and combat gear sucks. I understand. He chose flash over the common function. Rookie error, but with seriousness, he indicated different areas of their combat gear. Which servo needs? Power coupling realignment is one. Avoid failure, and whoever is responsible for it created your system for thermal management. The CRA ought to feel embarrassed of themselves. The RE warriors were now visibly restless. A few of them are secretly checking the diagnostic supreme war print of their outfit. The scales of Zixtel had changed to a fascinating shade of pale green. What is your true issue? Zeke went on, favoring his topic over engineering. You have a lot of redundant systems. In reality, they are interfering with one another. It's similar to observing a room full of middle-level supervisors attempt to alter a light Admiral Chen's bulb who had been observing. This conversation has increased awe. Cleared her throat at last. Maybe we ought to go ahead with the official work. Oh, okay. Zeke straightened up, ultimately embracing what he likely believed to be a formal stance. So here's the offer. Either I can turn around and go, or begin highlighting all the important details about your equipment's design flaws. Amid protests, Prince of the Supreme War Zix examined this oil, the champion of earth-soiled person with a wrench and a disturbingly deep understanding of their technical details, and created a choice that might alter the trajectory of, unfortunately for him, galactic history. We won't, since it was the wrong one. Fearful of a simple mechanical obsidian, Talons get ready for their practice to begin. With all the phantoms, I want to give Bessie a practice swing. Regarding that plasma, you would say that now, if you could call the fight, modulator, started with the Prince of the Supreme War. What military historians make of Zeke's towel would subsequently characterize as a serious mistake. He attempted to shoot Zeke out of judgment. His battlesuit's plasma blast, the principal weapon, ought to have annihilated Zeke, who had previously used a human mechanic instead. Crouched beneath a console nearby and muttered regarding power variations. You see, that's precisely what I'm discussing. How his voice came from somewhere under the deck armor. The containment of plasma is also running much too. Give it a good 30 seconds and the entire arm assembly will lock up. Zeke's towel shouted in solitude, then paused as the right arm of his outfit became more challenging to transport, while another reinforced steel plate formed the right arm. Yes, I know this. There was a metallic clang, from then the distinctive sound of something being rewired by someone that actually must not be rewired. Zeke's towel shouted in something being rewired as well. You may wish to consider, I'll take roughly 3 steps to your left. Don't let your outdated deck fool you. Suddenly, the plate beneath Zeke's feet vented at. You were advised to take precisely 3 steps to the left. Systems for environmental control are my specialty. Zeke came out of the repair hatch. That most certainly hadn't visited there 5 minutes ago. Problem 2 with quantum harmonics in Obsidian Talon warriors advanced to stand on either side of him. With a menacing buzz, weapons charge, Zeke chose to disregard them entirely instead. Approaching their shuttle directly with someone's confident walk, prepare to perform authorized maintenance. Please excuse me while I take a brief examine your matrix of propulsion, creating this strange resonance which is making me go insane. He vanished into the shuttle before anyone could stop him. Zix ordered him to stop, but his warriors had their own issues, one of which was desperately attempting to disconnect the environmental controls on the helmet that had begun to play the sound that was eerily reminiscent of Earth's poker music. Another discovered that his suit's servos were locked, something that looked like a permanent chicken dance position, and, yes, the voice of Zek this was repeated from the shuttle's interior. Worse than I had anticipated. Who created this grid for power distribution is, hold on, caffeinated octopus while a series of clangs was heard, followed by the characteristic noise of duct tape being used with a strong warning about discrimination. Lights started to flicker on each one. Battle suits in some way show off their command networks that were quantum encrypted, which were being replaced by what seemed to be the upkeep of the coffee maker. Did you know that Zeke kept up the protocols? Speaking out of the shuttle with even more oil on it than prior to it, your whole fleet system is in sync thanks to quantum. Actually, entanglement is quite ingenious, indicates that every ship has the same fundamental problem. He smiled and said, "It seems one striking difference only over time. I wonder how any technologist could make such a mistake. No perfectly imbalanced suit is capable of functioning correctly." He smiled and said, "Coding structure also signifies they have similar fundamental defects." Prince Zix observed in fear during the Supreme War in the battles of his elite soldiers. The suits started to break down in more strange methods. One began playing disco music from ancient Earth through a third party's external speakers. Matrix of translation changed to speaking only in poor poetry can you defeat the Cathari Empire's power, Zix announced. However, using only a wrench at that point, his voice modulator decided to place a wager, changed to a squeaky falsetto. Zeke tenderly held Bessie up in this simple, "Quantum drives have been fixed by a wrench, temporal stabilizers that were realigned and once influenced a coffee maker to accomplish. However, that final one was sentient. Most likely a mistake won't cease such attempting to maximize caffeine intake for everyone." He hid beneath the body of another warrior, swinging wild, and using momentum to gain entry to a panel for maintenance on the rear of the suit. You can see your issue right here. Your primary power routing is in place. Using a quantum converter in single phase, a few minor tweaks throughout amateur hour, the warrior suit, and Bessie started. Putting on a passionate performance of the Macarena, however, is our technological advancement that is superior to the one that is still operational. Superior Zeke smirked at the protesting warriors, humiliating in some way rewiring. When drinking 3 distinct systems from his thermos that appeared to have no bottom, your concept of advanced technology slamming everything with quantum fields and hoping that this expert advice helps. Occasionally, a traditional wrench is constant. To illustrate his thesis, all you have to do is deliver a forceful blow on a nearby panel. With Bessie, the impact in some way set off a system failure that cascaded throughout the whole fleet battlesuits of CRI started turning off ships, lost electricity, and the AI of at least one cruiser made the decision, desired to work in the field of possible paradigms. Did the interpretative dancing just impress you? Chen gazed incredulously, disabling a hole by striking the alien fleet with it. Zeke responded, Ren, technically, applying additional duct tape to an object that was most likely crucially. I activated a wrench to the quantum resonance cascade that took advantage of their excessive dependence on coordinated systems, and I might have swapped out some of their combat procedures while drinking coffee. Maintenance of equipment routines. The final Obsidian in Operation Talon Warrior examined his crippled comrades at the display of his own costume, which was now displaying thorough instructions on how to store coffee beans properly. Zix's voice had an unreal quality, and it went back to normal, although his combat uniform was currently trapped in what seemed to be an electric highway. Our engineers wasted endless time in a boot loop. Decades spent refining these systems, yes, but your engineers never have to use anything to fix a quantum drive. However, around 3 in the afternoon, duct tape and spite Zeke gave the shuttle hull a pat in the morning. With empathy, you guys put a lot of effort into it. You forget, when you complicate things, the first engineering rule, you're not looking hard, thus you're not broke, sufficient with a last dramatic flourish of Zeke's wrench, set off what he later characterized as a minor in his repair log. Adaptation to the quantity of their fleet stability. The outcome of the Matrix was every crack. The Sorari ship is concurrently going through what may be characterized as the battle over the technical identity crisis. Saputers started executing the recipe. Technical identity crisis is possible. A strong fascination with 21st century soap operas, Prince Zigal from the opera Supreme War is now imprisoned in a combat outfit that only plays peaceful music while moving in reverse. At last, whale sounds acknowledged, defeating how he inquired while observing his powerful fleet belonging to a group of extremely costly, highly perplexing machinery. How, with a wrench, did one person vanquish the most sophisticated military force in the galaxy? Zeke shrugged and started to go manual. With a wrench, did one person vanquish the most sophisticated military force in the galaxy? Just what a real mechanic was needed for content. He paused and then grinned. Additionally, you ought to have read the danger signs on those quantum euros. Your main is never rooted by harmonic systems using the identical circuit as your coffee maker, that is, merely requesting issues with the official surrender of the crack. The Sorari Empire occurred on board Alpha's orbital platform, although not quite in a way that anyone anticipated. Prince Zix signed a peace treaty during the Supreme War Treaty as his combat suit worked an interpretive dance performance to classical music. That of Zeke's fixes, which nobody had been able to correct. In addition to Zeke's Satal read from the pact, his voice would sometimes, please, the sound of a game glitch. In Host's passion for the Cathari Empire refuses to acknowledge the superiority of humanity's engineering prowess, which made him tremble. The final sentences with attempt look destroying. Who was out of the office mending did you use the coffee maker in the corner? Detect a rattling sound in the corner. Detect a rattling sound in the corner. Zeke cried out to the manifold without looking up. Without looking up from his efforts, each and every Cathari fighter in the provisions of the deal made the room wince. Committee-mandated maintenance instruction programs, and above all, a galaxy-wide prohibition on what they now refer to as overly complex system architecture. The triumph of humanity was announced throughout quicker than a quantum cascade in the galaxy. Failure. The headlines were amazing. LIT, extraterrestrial force, defeated by a human mechanic. The Empire breaks with a single wrench. Citing traumatic engineering, the surrender familiarity with local maintenance personnel. Earth-saver gripes about paperwork. The United Defense Council back on Earth was coping with an unforeseen issue. Their hesitant hero had no desire to peek at fame. Zeke clarified to a room filled with generals, admirals, and a growing number of irritated PR specialists. Thank you for the awards and everything, however, I possess a fusion reactor that must be recalibrating those plasmas in Bay 17. The injectors will not line up, yourselves. But, General, you are a hero. Williams objected to the people's desire to hear your narrative. A movie is being discussed. Deal with the film on what I'm saying. The engineering of the aliens is terrible, and using a wrench to strike objects until they, Zeke snorted at work, but someone has to repair every one of these superior alien vessels. Have you seen the ones they left behind? Records of maintenance, as if they never learned about routine oil changes, in spite of his protest that Zeke's legacy had already taken place. On its own, the wrench turned into an emblem of human resourcefulness across. The addition of Galaxy engineering schools, innovative approach to problem solving with limited resources for their courses. But nobody could easily duplicate Zeke's distinct method for mechanical upgrades. Meanwhile, the Kray's psychology experienced a full cultural change. Their engineering schools highlighted simplicity and upkeep, and accessibility for their military stopped utilizing synchronized potential of quantum system susceptibility to caffeine-based. Zeke, on the other hand, did what he could and returned to work as the sole significant alterations were the sporadic anti-summit internationals that chartered a school for the event. An international engineering student who would show up at his bay in the hopes of discovering the fresh sign and the wrench's mystery on his desk that said, "Warning, authorized quantum changes in Advanced Admiral Chen, 6 months after the incident," discovered him half buried in his normal location underneath a creative maintenance panel, swearing in multiple languages, reverberating through the Andromedan Confederation's bay, wishes to encounter the engineering of humanity's champion. She reportedly told him they have created new unhackable encryption system. A clang sounded beneath the panel, followed by revealing their encryption most likely passed through their surroundings. Controls are similar to all other designs. Space debris out. The Admiral actually grinned at this point. Precisely why they'd like to meet you. Concerned that their system could be weak, to what extent was it considered aggressive? Upkeep processes. Zeke came out covered in oil, but smiling broadly. Unable to allow them to continue constructing things incorrectly. Can we? Just let me give Bessie a loving pat. Complete the repair of this quantum regulator. Someone believed it would be wise to put it backwards and upside down. Once more. Consequently, as humanity established itself among the stars, a new proverb that went viral. The galaxy should watch out for animals, that fixed their most cutting-edge technology, tape, and mindset they've acquired to make something function, regardless of its desire to. The greatest warrior ultimately did not. The Cathari Empire was never an armed soldier with a sour attitude, a wrench-wielding mechanic with a low acceptance of subpar engineering.